You're welcome.
Are the U.S. and North Korea headed for a confrontation? If the answer is yes, what would that confrontation look like?
Safeguard your teens.
Tensions with North Korea escalating by the day. The communist nation now warning it will use nuclear weapons in a merciless offensive if any country provokes it. Add to that, U.S. intelligence has evidence that Pyongyang may be preparing for more missile launches. Our Anderson Cooper discussed the escalation with CNN senior political analyst David Gergen.
David, you feel that the U.S. basically, separate from these two journalists, is heading to some sort of confrontation with North Korea?
We're heading toward a possible showdown now. It's been very interesting. This administration came in ready to talk. Wanted to, they said they'd go to Pyongyang. Hillary Clinton might go there. They appointed Steve Bosworth, this very distinguished former diplomat, as a special envoy to North Korea. They can't break the code. They can't get in, and they've been rebuffed by the North Koreans. But more than that, the North Koreans have suddenly set off on this very mischievous, dangerous path, blowing up a nuclear weapon and doing missiles. And the administration, strikingly now, has been sending off signals in the last few days. It's not going to play the game that the Clinton administration and the Bush administration played. I was there in the Clinton administration when we decided to essentially buy them off. If you'll stop the nuclear program, we'll give you oil, we'll give you a nuclear power plant, we'll give you food. We tried that, it didn't work, it failed. The Bush administration came along and said we don't want to do that, and then they eventually did, it failed again. This administration is saying we're not going to bargain with these people anymore. We're going to get tough. We're going to crack down on this. We're not going to allow them. The administration has decided, apparently, that North Korea is intent on getting nuclear capacity, and they're going to try to stop it. And Anderson, it could lead to a confrontation, and it's going to be a very important signal to the Iranians about how the U.S. will handle a nuclear capacity in a dangerous country.
This could lead to confrontation, Gergen says. Joining me with his insights on this escalating situation, Jim Walsh, an expert in international security and a research associate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he joins us from West Newton, Massachusetts. Jim, as always, great to talk to you. Help me here, please. So when we hear comments like those from our analyst, David Gergen, who's been inside several White Houses, right? Using words like showdown and confrontation to describe what he thinks this administration, at least where it might be headed. A, do you believe we are on a path to a confrontation with North Korea? And I'll ask B after you answer A.
Sure. On A, Tony, well, first of all, let me say that I'm a lifetime member of the David Gergen fan club.
Okay.
But that being said, I disagree with David in two respects. One, I don't think everything that happened before was a failure. He referred to the agreed framework under the Clinton administration. That froze that program for 10 years. If you had a disease and I told you if you take this pill, it's going to go into remission for 10 years, you would call that a victory. Similarly, I thought we had made some progress at the end of the Bush administration, but with changes inside North Korea that have nothing to do with the outside world, that's what's pointed this in a different direction. I think there's a danger. That is to say, there could be miscalculation, an accident,
yes,
confrontation at sea. But I think it would be foolish, and I hope David is wrong, that if he's saying that the administration is going to pursue a showdown. You don't pursue showdowns with countries that are in the middle of regime changes. That's the sort of thing that leads to crisis.
But, Jim, here's what we do know from Barbara Starr's reporting. The Pentagon is looking at military options if North Korea doesn't stop its push to be fully nuclear capable. All right, talk us through the obvious options here.
Well, you could, in theory, attack the nuclear sites that you're aware of in North Korea, and that was something that was, in fact, considered early in the crisis, 92, 93, under Clinton. But remember, this is the nightmare scenario. It's not as if the North Koreans are going to sit back and say, okay, you bombed us, we give up. They're going to want to retaliate. They're going to have lost face. They're going to feel like this is the last of all wars, that we're coming after them, even if we're only carrying out, quote, a surgical strike. And remember, it's the South Koreans and it's the Chinese who are on the ground, yes, next to North Korea. They do not want a war. I think they're not going to be up for a confrontation that risks that sort of open war on the Korean Peninsula.
Jim, thanks for another perspective on this. We appreciate it. Jim Walsh with us.
Absolutely.